It was supposed to be an easy night. Maybe my last delivery before heading home. I was working at Giovanni's Pizzeria, a small place tucked away on the outskirts of town. Frank, one of my bosses, was covering the night shift with me. He would usually pick who went out on deliveries, and tonight it was my turn. We got a late order for 2 pizzas, regular ones, nothing special. Frank handed me a slip of paper with the address and phone number. This was back in 2011, before smartphones were common. I had one of those old flip phones with no GPS, no fancy mapping apps for me, just a map book, the kind you'd find at the back of a car seat gathering dust. The address led me to a road that seemed to go on forever, Cedar Creek Road. The name still gives me chills. The area was pretty isolated. Nothing but trees, fields, and more trees. It was past midnight, and the road had no streetlights to guide me. Every turn felt like I was getting deeper into nowhere. I had to pull over a few times, flicking on the interior lights to check the map. It wasn't helping, and I was starting to feel the weight of the situation. This wasn't just a normal delivery. Finally, I decided to call the number on the slip. It rang for what felt like forever, and just when I was about to give up, someone picked up. The voice on the other end was low, deep, and oddly calm. "Hello," I said, my voice sounding too loud in the otherwise silent night. "I'm the pizza guy," I told him, trying to keep things professional. "I'm having some trouble finding your place. Can you help me out?" The voice was quiet, almost mechanical. "Turn right where the old oak tree stands. Follow the dirt path. You'll find it. The house is the only one down there." The instructions were weirdly specific, but at least I now had a direction. I turned my car down the narrow, almost invisible path, my tires crunching over gravel and dirt. After about 30 seconds of careful driving, the house came into view. It was a small, single-story cottage. A dim light flickered from one of the windows, barely enough to illuminate the darkness around it. I parked next to an old pickup truck, the only other vehicle in sight. I grabbed the pizzas from the passenger seat and made my way up to the door. No doorbell, just a worn wooden door. I knocked, my knuckles tapping loudly in the quiet night. I heard muffled music from inside, an old tune, something from the 1940s or 50s. It felt out of place. Then, footsteps. The door creaked open slightly, and I saw just the edge of a face, one eye, cold and calculating. "You ordered pizza?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh yes," the voice replied. It was unmistakably the same one from the phone call, but there was a weird pause before he continued. "I'll get the money." He stepped back into the house, and I heard his footsteps fade as he walked away. I stood there, waiting, and that's when I noticed something odd. The music inside wasn't just old, it was wrong. A vintage record player, one of those with the horn on top, stood in the corner, playing an eerie tune that added to the growing unease. The smell hit me next. It wasn't the usual scent of a home. It smelled dead, like something was rotting in there. I knocked again, louder this time. "Sir, do you have the money?" I called, trying to get his attention. The voice came from further inside the house. "Come to the kitchen, please." I froze for a moment. My coworkers always told us never to enter a house if you didn't have to, and this situation felt wrong. I hesitated but asked again, "Can you repeat that?" "Come to the kitchen." Reluctantly, I stepped inside. The floor felt unstable, like it might cave in at any moment. The place looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. The walls were cracked, the furniture old and broken. As I walked further into the hallway, something caught my eye. At the end of the hallway, a man stood, his back to me. He was dancing, but not in any way I'd ever seen before. It wasn't joyful, it wasn't confident. It was unnatural, like he was exploring his own body in a slow, disturbing way. I couldn't look away. My heart was pounding in my chest as I continued toward the kitchen, holding the pizzas. But then, something else caught my attention. The man, the same one who'd been dancing, was now standing in the kitchen doorway. He was only showing me his eye, peeking around the edge of the wall. I felt my breath catch in my throat. "Do you have the money?" I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. He didn't respond. Instead, he giggled, a deep, unsettling sound that sent chills down my spine. Then, in a loud, almost jarring voice, he called out, "Randall!" I had enough. My mind screamed for me to leave, so I turned and bolted for the door. As I made my way to the front, I glanced down the hallway again. The man who had been dancing earlier was now standing just staring at me, his eyes never leaving mine. I rushed out the door, not bothering to close it behind me. I threw the pizzas into the passenger seat, my hands shaking. The car started with a roar, and I quickly reversed out of the driveway, trying not to look back. But I couldn't help myself. The door was wide open again. My heart skipped a beat. Someone was watching me. I floored the gas pedal, heading back toward the main road, praying I wouldn't have to stop. I called Frank, but he didn't sound worried when I told him what had happened. He thought I was exaggerating, maybe even playing a joke on him. But when I returned to the pizzeria, no one laughed. They all just stared at me, wide-eyed, as I finished telling them what happened. It may sound like a funny story to someone else, but that night, it was anything but. I never made another delivery after dark, and I've never forgotten the feeling of those eyes watching me as I drove away.